கோகுல் நிறைய பேர் வெயிட் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்க மாதிரி மெசேஜ் வருது. You're admitting
I'm
everybody.
admitting them, Selva. As and when they're joining, I'm admitting.
அந்த மோட் மாத்துறீங்கல்ல, சோ அது மாத்திரீங்கல்ல.
எது
ஹோஸ்ட்க்கு மட்டும் தான் கண்ட்ரோல் இருக்கிற மாதிரி, இப்போ பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட்ஸ் வந்து எல்லாரும் மியூட்ல இருக்கிற மாதிரி இந்த பிரசன்டர் மோட
சொன்னீங்க. அது ஆல்ரெடி மாத்தியாச்சு ஆக்சுவலா.
Gokul recording start பண்ணிடலாமா? Okay, perfect. Thanks.
I think we can get started, Meena.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Meena Mohan from GPTM and very excited to connect with you all virtually this afternoon. On behalf of GPTM, let me take this opportunity to welcome each and everyone here. And I would like to mention that GPTM is very proud to organize the tech webinar on emerging technologies, and it is dedicated to our youth community in and outside of our GPTM. So before starting the webinar, let me take this opportunity again to welcome and thank our GPTM crew, including Hema, Gokul, Saravana, and Ramana, who are really working hard in the background to drive the show very smoothly. So, I would like to acknowledge and thank all our valued sponsors for their great support to GPTM during the year 2020-21. So now let's take this moment to welcome and introduce our honorable speaker. Actually, there's no introduction needed to our speaker because is already well known to our GPTM community. But I would like to take a moment to highlight few facts about our speaker. He's a senior graphic software architect working at Intel, and he's been in the industry for 24 years, over 24 years. He's holding 12 patents. He's passionate about computer graphics, AI, gaming, etc., and loves to teach and mentor kids. Yes, you would have guessed by the time. Let's welcome our honorable speaker, none and the other, Mr.Selvakumar Panneer. Selva, it's all yours now.
Thank you, Meena, and thanks for organizing this seminar. So hopefully everyone gets something out of this, and I promise this will be very entertaining. So it's not going to be just slides or me talking. So let me start sharing my slides. The way I put together this presentation, it's primarily for the kids and also for the parents to understand what's happening in the tech industry and how to get them started. So let me see if I can share my screen first. All right, is everyone able to see the slide?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
Selva.
You can see it.
Awesome.
Can
Thank
see
you. So I'll start with an intro video. This is just basically explain what I'm going to be talking about. So take a moment to watch this video.
Can it be made full screen?
It is full screen on the maybe.
Selva, I think it's on the other screen. It seems like it's not
Oh,
full
I
screen.
see. Oh, I'm sorry.
ரெண்டு ஸ்கிரீனும்
Yeah.
தெரியுது செல்வா, அதை மாத்திருங்க நீங்க.
Yeah,
Okay,
and the
hold on.
volume is not coming either.
Okay, 1 second. Let me stop this. Okay, how about now?
Yes.
Much better now.
Okay, awesome. So this is the slide in full screen. So, and I embedded some videos inside, so you should be able to see them. Somebody is drawing on top of it. I don't know what's going on there. Okay. All right. Is it possible to remove the drawing, Meena? I think, I don't know if someone else is also able to.
Yeah, that Scrabble is there. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Now it's gone. Thank you. Let me start the video from the beginning as everyone got interrupted.
There is no audio, Selva.
Okay, sorry about that. Hold on, give me one more second. All right, someone else is drawing on top.
Somebody's making fun, having some fun.
Does anyone have access to this drawing, Meena? I think maybe it'll be good if we can avoid that.
Actually, no, Silva. Let me share my screen just for the music. Is that okay?
I think I fixed the music. Let me see. How about now?
Yeah. Silva, still no music.
Started and then
I can hear it. I can hear the music.
Okay.
I cannot.
All right.
I think it started and then it just went off. Yeah.
Yeah, it started with the little music and then it.
So when you share, you got to, there's an option to pick computer audio, share computer audio.
Yeah, so we are selecting the microphone and the speaker. So let me try. I think there are a couple of. How about now? Still now?
It starts.
Yeah, it's working now.
Okay.
I think somebody's scribbling.
Somebody is scribbling. Yeah, that's still
And
there.
the sound stops also. I don't hear the sound anymore.
All right. Maybe I'll share this video. Let me see if we can fix it quickly. I think it is coming from same as system.
Yeah, for a second the sound came clearly.
Is it still not?
Coming now. It's coming now.
Okay.
I'm sharing the screen. I'm not logged into my Scratch account.
I'll come later. So then you go there, please.
First,
All right. So that gives a glimpse of what we're going to be seeing today. But I think it'll be great if someone can erase the background or the scribble on the screen. Is that possible, Nina or Sarunan? All right.
It's gone now, Selva. Yeah.
I think you can probably block everybody from doing that if possible. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty.
Yeah, they are actually blocked, Selva. Nobody is actually given permission to
Okay.
share their screen, except for the host and the co-hosts.
Okay, that'll be good. I don't know what is happening. It just keeps coming now and then. Okay, so let's get started. And so, like I said, this talk is primarily to kind of inspire kids, and graphics is one a great medium so they can bring their imagination to life, and whatever they think, they can actually do it. And so since I've been in this field for a very long time, I've been thinking about how to bring that connection. So whatever that I've learned, how do I transfer that to kids so they can have a pretty early start in graphics? So in this, I will introduce some of the emerging technologies. And like I said, this talk is for kids. And so we'll look at from kindergarten all the way to college level, what they can do to get into this field. It's even though if they're not totally interested in graphics field, this knowledge is definitely going to help in any field that they choose. So as you see in the video in the front, graphics is impacting pretty much every field that you can imagine, including medicine, AI, and so it's wonderful that this can be used as a learning tool as well. So with that, I know that I was already been introduced, so I don't have to tell much about my background. I'm from Chennai and came here in '98. And since my early 90s, I've been passionate about graphics. And it all started by playing games. Many of you have played this game called Prince of Persia. This was sometime in the early 90s, 1991 time. For many kids, they play the game, but for me, I was pretty curious about how they make these games. And so much thing goes on in a game, and so it always wondered me like how they create the music, how they create the art, how they animate the art, and how they control these artwork through graphics. So that curiosity literally can get me started on a pretty rapid learning curve into understanding key things that are needed to learn graphics. So it's funny that somebody's still scribbling and having fun. All right. So with that, luckily after my college, I joined a game company in Chennai, not far away from my house, and was able to contribute to a game engine development, which is basically the heart of a game. We worked on a game called Apsaras in early '96. And then within a year and a half, I came to US and I was invited to work on this game called Quest for Glory. It was one of the popular game back then in the 98 time frame. It was very interesting to do. I worked with many key legends. Even there's a musician named Chance Thomas. He worked on many movies, including Avatar and Jumanji and many other movies, and Titanic, actually. And he was in the same building working on this game, Quest for Glory. And even there's another person named Eric Lingle who made a big impact in graphics, was also involved. So I was fortunate to kind of work with some kind of pioneers in the industry on the gaming field. And after that, I joined Intel, started working on technologies, and the curiosity kind of led me to understand more about the internals of hardwares, how they operate to get this kind of gaming experience. So I've been following through several products and kind of contributed to several products that are used in the gaming field, like the GPU, which is a big part of the graphics processing unit. Then I came back to, and I kind of moved around several places. I was in California, Boston, but the first time I came to Oregon was in '99, and I made a lot of friends, and they're still here. So with Oregon, it's over like 21 years that I've been in and around, but my friend circle still stays the same since '99 in Oregon. Like I was introduced, right now I'm in Intel leading some research in the graphics side. And then we've been contributing to things, and some of the things are already even included in the Microsoft Windows operating system as well. So there's a lot of things, but the core of this for my passion is graphics. So this talk is to kind of take this 30 years of experience and condense into like, how can I transfer this to kids in some meaningful way, so they can, if they're interested in this field, they can start their journey as early as kindergarten or first grade, because visual is something that everyone is interested, and it's a creative field, just like music or any other creative field. Graphics is another way to kind of express your creativity, and gaming or immersive media, taking it to the next level. So with that, I'll get started. So we'll start with emerging technologies. I don't want to go deep because for younger kids, this is kind of way too overwhelming, but I'll just kind of point out some of the key trends that are kind of called under the emerging technologies. So one is the big data, and this is somewhat relevant, more relevant now than when it was introduced. With the social media and everything, there's so much goes on where there's a lot of data, and big data is a field where you have a way to manage this kind of enormous amount of data. And these are kind of data that varies from time to time, like your social media data and all the data that how they manage in computers. Cloud computing, I'm sure every kid now has a Google account, and they watch YouTubes, and they connect to Zoom, and all this are happening through the cloud computing technology, right? So this is a way where computing power is in reach wherever you are. You don't really need to have a powerful computer in your hand to compute something. You can compute from any device using the powerful computers that are in the data centers. And then the other interesting field is the computer vision. This is a field where the computer can make sense of our world, like whatever that we feed in as a camera information. There's a field where it recognizes patterns, it recognizes people, and try to kind of make sense of the visual data. And so it's a pretty vast field. With the help of AI, which is also another major field that's booming right now, there is a lot goes on with it. Like not only that AI is helping in sensing just normal data, but more on the visual data. If you look at Tesla cars, so there's lots and lots of kind of sensors that are driving the car and making it autonomous. And so many of these technologies are connected to one another. So even though they are kind of a domain by itself, but they look for information. They look for help from other technologies too. So in a way, all these technologies are super connected to one another. And then, as I mentioned, they're super connected, which is basically where the Internet of Things comes in. So as we stand, there are about 50 billion plus devices connected to the internet, and this trend is growing really, really fast. And so Internet of Things is also another big domain by itself. And kids, knowingly or unknowingly, they are kind of using these technologies into their day-to-day life, including the current online school. They are using many of these technologies. And the technology that I'm going to talk more is the immersive experience today. But then it also connects to pretty much all the technologies that I mentioned here. But we'll go deep into the immersive experience. This is something kind of exciting for kids, but it also touches pretty much everything that I listed here as well. So let's get started. And what I'm planning to do is I'll present the slides for about 30 minutes. Then we'll open up for more of a Q&A, so people can have, I'll try to find a way to answer some of the questions. And we'll spend the next half an hour on the Q&A part. And I put some links for people who are interested or want to learn more about each of these fields. There are lots of ways to learn this, but these links will help to get started. And we'll find a way to send these links in some kind of an email so people can have these links when they need it. So for big data, there's two things, Hadoop and Spark. That's like the starting point, I would say. Cloud computing, one thing is both Amazon and Microsoft, they allow students to explore the cloud technology. And so those links that I've listed there gives an opportunity for kids, maybe middle school plus, can go and explore what a cloud compute is. And they can sign up, create an account, and get started. Computer vision, this, again, like I said, it's a pretty massive field. The two areas that I would say, one is the OpenCV org link. The other one is the Pi image search. This will get started on this computer vision field. AI, it's a pretty broad field, but one thing that I find very interesting is a website called Kaggle. They have listed some curated materials for maybe middle school plus kids to kind of follow. And they have a way to kind of step-by-step process to get to learn AI from Python to scripting to data collection to machine learning to deep learning and how to apply them in different fields and so on. IoT, the best one is Raspberry Pi. And you don't have to spend much. There's a $5 computer now from Raspberry Pi called Pi Zero. That you can connect to the internet and you can program it. So that's another interesting field by itself, as I mentioned, but you can get started and make some IoT devices using this as a starting point. And we'll go deep into the immersive experience in the next following slides. So today's computer, when I learned about this probably like 30 years ago in school, it started with input, compute, and output. So let's start with that model. We now have various ways of inputs. We have keyboard, mouse, touch, voice, camera, sensors as input to a computer. And then a computer computes some things, and it could be a program that it executes, and then we output something. Either it's a data as an output, or we display something in terms of game. Here, the keyboard input is the character movement, and the output is the rendering of those characters in the virtual world. But this is how we came to know about computers a couple of decades ago, but now there are so many technologies now being used in pretty much all these three areas, starting from computer vision. As I mentioned, it helps to understand our world. Computers were now able to understand our world and able to make sense of it. Whether when there is a pedestrian, it needs to know there is a pedestrian on the road and things like that. And big data, I mean, not everything can be stored in one computer. So big data, enormous amount of storage, and way to kind of compute using those storage is in use. And cloud computing, again, computers that we have in our home are not the only way to compute. Now there's cloud computing with powerful compute can offload some of the compute to these technologies. And AI, even though it's a pretty massive field, the three way I can categorize AI is one to think, make sense of data, and one to predict what is going to happen next, and then also to create something like how we create as a creator. And IoT, again, connecting all the devices, and immersive experience is used to entertain and also assist in our day-to-day life. And these three things are using pretty much everything you can think of. If you take Alexa, every time you say Alexa and you ask something, they use cloud computing to understand what you asked. And so some of the computes are completely offloaded to the cloud in this case. So we'll start with the immersive experience, and the way we get immersed is by visually seeing something or visually hearing something. There is a lot of echo on the bridge. If people can go mute, that'll be great. All right, thank you. So display is the only way we can visually communicate with a computer today. So are you guys able to hear? There is echo.
No, we are able to hear, Selva. I think somebody just unmuted themselves and then.
Yes, I thought. Okay. All right. So display is the only way people now able to kind of communicate or see something that's computed by the computer. And this technology didn't change much in the last 60 years plus, and it started with a CRT, and it still stays like that, even though the technology made it thinner and other things. But it never kind of went beyond that. We still have to go to this rectangular display and see something for a very long time. This is how we interact with the computer. But things are slowly changing. There is VR experience. This is basically a head-mounted display. You put it on your head, and now you literally have a visual that you can watch in 360, any direction you want. That you get to kind of immerse yourself. And I have some videos that we'll go over. There is augmented reality. Many kids may have played this Pokemon game on their phone or tablets. And this is another way, still, I mean, it's still a flat display, but now the computer is able to understand what it sees and then render something like this Pokemon character in front of, on the road. But then there are some drawbacks with this technology. You have to hold a physical device to see what it is. So it's more like a portal to see the virtual world. This is the new trend that's coming up. It's called the AR glass from Microsoft, and a couple other companies are working on this technology. And this is to blend both the worlds together. So when you wear this glass or device, you can see your regular world as well as some augmented world. So in this case, this person is kind of interacting with a globe in front of her, and that only she can see. Not everybody can see. So she, from her glass, is able to see the physical world and the virtual world blended together. Another technology that is also emerging is the projection-based mixed reality experience. This is where you kind of project on top of physical medium, like walls and things like that, and make that to come to life. And so this is something that everybody should be able to see and get immersed in this technology. So, so 2 years ago in the GPTM Tabal Mantram, we kind of used this technology using LED panels to kind of immerse the audience. So that's one of the way where we can actually create an experience that many people can get immersed using this technology. So VR is certainly kind of making more and more into the daily life. So now, initially it was looked at just for entertainment, but now there are companies looking at for movies, VR is being used as well. So I'll start this video, which kind of gives you what Facebook has been working on. Let's increase the volume. And you saw some of this in the early stage too. So as you saw in this video, it's a pretty interesting device that you can just mount it on your head, and just now you got the entire. I mean, you can put the display anywhere you want, and you can work normally with that device. There are some kind of drawbacks that companies are working on. One of the big complaints with this device is it messes up the hair. So sometimes the technology can advance, but some of the basic problems needs to be addressed. So with VR, that's one of the common problem that people complained about. That it's great, but when I wear and remove, my hair is all messed up. So just to kind of keep that in mind. So we looked at the AR technology that I mentioned earlier. This is also great, but you have to hold the device in your hand to kind of see through the physical world with this kind of device. Some of you might have seen Apple's announcement on LiDAR. I'll play a video that kind of shows how they're going to take this technology to the next level.
A LiDAR scanner. LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging, and it measures how long it takes light to reach an object and reflect back. We've adopted this technology for iPhone, and with the machine learning and depth frameworks of iOS 14, iPhone understands the world around you and builds a precise depth map of the scene. It enables object and room scanning, photo and video effects, and precise placement of AR objects. LiDAR makes iPhone 12 Pro a powerful device for delivering instant AR and unlocking endless opportunities in apps.
So as you can see, I mean, Apple is going really making a big bet on this technology, and you can tell that many of the technologies are used to create this experience, from LiDAR, camera technology using computer vision, AI, IoT sensors. I mean, lots and lots of things are used to get to this experience. LiDAR is certainly going to take this technology much forward, because and now, as you know, Tesla is using LiDARs. It's a pretty precise technology for very precise data. So for these kind of experience to flourish, you need sensors that gives you those precise data. And so this again, from iPhone 12 or the new iPad Pro, these technology will be part of the oncoming devices. And projection technology, like I said, it's pretty interesting that many people can experience this, not only just from a VR or AR device point of view. So this is one technology. It's pretty interesting. So I'll let you watch the video, then we'll talk a little bit about this. So as you saw in this video, it's pretty interesting that many people were able to see a physical world with some projection that they can make it believe that those characters come to life in a museum. So this is a museum setup, but there are many companies looking at projection-based mixed reality experience, including for movies. So I think those are like some of the technologies that is kind of leading way to the next level of technologies, and this is kind of where the future is going to be. In my opinion, this mixed reality glasses are going to change the way we communicate with the computer. So far, everything is a flat display, your cell phones or laptops, monitors, but that's going to change with this device. And I'll show the video, which you probably have seen in the beginning. So this is like an eyeglass that you wear, and it can show both the real world and then augment it with digital world. And it's going to be used for many purposes, like it will help with assembling things in medicine, pretty much anything that you can think of. This is how the two worlds are now merging together. So that's coming, I think, in the next few years. I'm sure many companies will jump into this technology. And certainly Microsoft is leading the way currently with this HoloLens product called HoloLens 2. And there's also a couple other companies kind of trying to establish a product. Again, these devices can look bulky right now, but I'm sure eventually it'll turn into just like an eyeglass that you wear and able to get all this immersive experience. So the key part here is computers today, like I said, they have their own world called virtual world. Everything they do, they have their own coordinate system. They know, they understand how to kind of compute within the virtual world. And we live in a real world, and we have to do a blend of these two worlds. And many of these technology have to have that understanding of those two worlds. And that's kind of where many companies are working, including Microsoft. As you can see in this video, this is where now the computer understands where her hand is and able to understand how she's moving their hand and able to also display something on top of her hand.
It also recognizes the world. Welcome to my mixed reality home. This is the place where I have all the apps and content that I use every day. Let's check some of them out. Now, I've seen many people put on HoloLens for the first time, and the first thing people do when they put on the device is they reach out their hands and try to touch the HoloLens. And now,
The video is breaking up.
okay. My hand, almost inviting me to touch it.
I'll send the slide so people can watch this, download and watch this presentation too. It's a pretty long video. I'll just gonna take a few scenes. Like this is an interesting one that I want to bring up. So when smartphone came in, everybody thought like it killed a lot of devices. But we still use a phone device to interact. Whether it is a calculator or anything now became an app on a smartphone. And so AR is kind of doing that too. So AR technology, the augmented reality technology or the mixed reality technology, now we can see that to the next level. So your music instrument doesn't really need to be fitted into your cell phone. It can be of a real scale and right in front of you, but it's in a virtual world, and you can play music or interact with that music instrument right in front of you. It doesn't really have to be a physical device anymore. So this is going to be a big change, in my opinion, that's coming forward. And so we can certainly see how this technology is going to change that. So, so how are virtual worlds created? So this is pretty much where the core of what the kids should learn now. And so computer graphics, this is a field that is pretty much helping computer to generate realistic looking scenes or worlds that we can believe that they are real. So computer graphics, like I said, they use compute devices to create this world, and then we can visualize it. And there are kind of applications like games and then movies where they are used. And so movies, many of you have seen like all these Pixar movies, they're all made using computer graphics. And then I'll show how they make these games too. And when these virtual worlds are mixed with the real world, this is where we get visual effects in movies, where they take a regular scene from a movie and then add those visual effects to make it much more appealing for us to watch. And same with immersive experience. So like you saw the videos in the past, in the presentation, they just augment our real world with this content created by computer graphics. So it's a pretty interesting field by itself, like computer graphics, and people with a creative mindset, they can certainly make a big impact, whether you're a kid or a teenage or going to college. If you have a creative skill, certainly this is a field that would excite you. And you can create, and the computer graphics helps to create anything from 2D, 3D, or even create your own world. And to me, the big interesting thing is that it helps kids to learn math, physics, anything in a very fun way, because you're seeing everything visually. But then the core of computer graphics, like what does it generate? It generates some kind of an output like called pixels. So in a monitor, everything is a pixel. If you have a standard monitor, a full HD monitor or a TV, there are about 2 million pixels that a computer can operate on. And these pixels can have different colors. And so from a pixel, if you have to draw a line, all the computer graphics is doing is allowing a way to generate the number of pixels to lit between 2 points in space, as shown here. And today's computers are really good at kind of rendering triangles. When I say render, it means like when you pass in 3 coordinates to a computer graphics algorithm and say, I want to see a blue triangle here. The computer can do that really, really fast. So, even today, with all the games that you see or all the things that you see in computer, the fundamental of that is triangles. It can understand, it breaks down a 3D object into triangles and then render each of those triangles separately. So, and that's a process called rendering, which is kind of pretty much the heart of all this computer graphics. And so there are two techniques. So I don't want to go deep into this. This is kind of very math oriented, but the general idea is, like I said, any object is broken down into triangles, and those triangles are then processed independently by the computer, or very specifically by the GPU in a computer. And that's pretty much how we see things in computer graphics. And as this video is showing, there is a 3D object, and there is this monitor, and we want to see the 3D object projected onto this monitor. And this rasterization technique allows to take the 3D object, render each of those triangles, process each of those triangles independently to finally get this 3D object rendered on the screen. So this happens really, really fast in the GPU. So it can process millions and millions of triangles in milliseconds. So that's how fast they can do it. But this is the common technology used in games. But when you see movies, they look much more realistic with all the special effects, and they use a technology called ray tracing. And this is a technology where a ray is passed from the camera to where the scene is, and then they're able to figure out if that particular ray where it hits an object is visible to a light source in the scene. If it is visible, then it will lit the scene. If it is not visible, it shows a shadow region in that scene. So this is also a very complex rendering technique, and it requires a lot of compute power. And this is also where now AI is trying to help to see how we can render things in a much faster way. In the earlier days, these things takes like minutes and hours to render. So movie companies, when they add a special effects to a movie, the part that they spend more time is actually on the rendering side. So each frame sometimes take like an hour to render. So it's a pretty time-consuming process in movies. So so we render a frame, but how do we see games move? I mean, when you press that arrow key in a game, the character moves or the car moves. So what is that? How does it done? So here, what they do is they render this in a much faster rate. They render a frame at least every 33 millisecond, within a 33 millisecond, which means that in a second, there are 1,000 milliseconds. So you can see how fast the computer has to do this rendering process to render 60 frames per second in a game. And there are some new monitors coming up that can render 360 frames per second. So you're talking about 2 millisecond or 3 millisecond to render a complete frame to the user. So this shows that the amount of compute needed is much higher, and there are lots of technologies now can I use to see if we can make it run faster in games. So how computer understand color? We see colors everywhere. Now, if you see a new product, they talk about millions of colors, but now how computer really understand color is by just a mix of 3 colors, red, green, and blue, the primary colors. And any color you define in computer is basically the range of value in these 3 colors. And the new monitors, or they call HDR monitors, they can have a range of 0 to 2024 per primary color. And so you get about at least a billion colors can be generated by a computer graphics. So all these colors, but do you believe everybody see the same color? Like dogs, they don't see as how we see actually. So dogs, for example, they don't see the red color at all. The color range that the dogs can see is far different than what humans can see. But in certain cases, bees can see better than us, actually. So bees can see ultraviolet light that we can't see. So they see our world in a much different way than we see our world. So color plays a big important role, and understanding how colors are generated and what colors make sense itself is a big art by itself. So, so if anyone is interested in graphics, there is two ways we can start learning. One is by content creation. If you're really great in drawings or painting, content creation is a way to take your imaginary character and then bring that to life. So there are lots of softwares. So these are free softwares that you can download in your computer and create movie quality style graphics. And Blender is one of them. You can use Blender, and there are many movies made out of Blender actually. So you can just download Blender and follow some YouTube tutorials and learn how to create these characters in 3D. And like I said, there are many movies use these kind of content creation softwares to bring special effects. And the first scene I put there is the Bahubali scene. What is being shot is shown on the left side, and how you saw in movies on the right side. And so many of these effects are added to create those 3D models to get there. And those two movies I've listed there are completely made out of Blender, and you can see them on YouTube, those movies. And so even for content, for games, you need to have content, the entire 3D world, the characters, the 3D cars, and everything. So those, you can also use the content that you created and then bring it to life using in games. So there are two softwares there called Unity and Unreal. And these things you can download and get started into your gaming side of it. So for kids, so there are a lot of things we talked. I mean, some of them maybe kind of way too much for a kid, but how do we get started? So the way I kind of put together this slide is to say, I mean, it's more like for kids from kindergarten to 5th grade, what they can do today. The one thing I see very interesting is to learn math visually. There are tools that are available that will allow kids to learn math in a much more visual way. So the tool called desmos.com, you can go there and you can put equations, or you can try to understand our coordinate system, like the 2D coordinate system, how to draw a polygon and all that. There's a lot of noise again on the bridge. Sorry, but it'd be great if you can mute. So I'm sure many kids have tried Scratch. So Scratch is developed by MIT that will also help to learn a little bit about graphics and gaming. And they have a list of tutorials that you can follow through to learn how to create a small game and also share the game with your friends. So this is another great start, and you don't have to be a middle school. You can start as early as 1st grade. One of my son, my youngest son, is in 1st grade, and he's already kind of looking into creating games and sharing the games with his brother and so on. I think there's people can go on mute. That will be really great.
Yeah. So somebody is actually unmuting themselves a lot. So please keep yourself muted.
I think that's not helping, guys, so please cooperate. So the Scratch is more of a visual coding. So the kids can learn basic coding techniques like loops and variables. And I'm sure they're gonna stick with them forever. For parents, they understand how hard it was when we learned about programming, but now it's much more easier when they see things visually in Scratch. And once they are proficient in Scratch, and then the next thing that they can go after is to learn a little bit about JavaScript, the basics of JavaScript. And there are lots and lots of materials on YouTube, specifically for JavaScript learning for kids. So that's also very helpful. And this will let them move from scratch, from a visually scripting model to something they can write as a code, and then able to see how they can they can take their code into something more visually. So there are a couple of websites I've listed. D3JS is one of the websites that I use a lot. And it's a very simple JavaScript, and it creates this amazing graphics. You don't really need anything other than just a browser to kind of script something. And I put some screenshots here that are all generated from the JavaScript D3.
Are you screen sharing?
Was there a question? Right. So it'll be great if we can hold off to the questions. I'm gonna end the talk pretty quickly, so then we'll open up for questions. So gaming, so far we looked at technologies, we looked at how computer generates graphics and how to get started. So gaming by itself had a pretty early start, like from early 70s when my MIT first introduced this Pong game. That's where pretty much everything gets started in the gaming world. And then in the 80s, they added some color. And then in the 90s, they went to 3D. Now we were able to play 3D game in the 90s. And then in the early 2000s, we have like really good graphics with textures and colors. And then 2010 onwards, it became a lot more realistic. So the computer were able to render much faster. So the details of the game gets much more higher and higher. And this is the level of game that we can, quality that we can get in our current computers. This is rendered all in real time using a GPU in a computer. And so you can tell that we can't tell whether that's rendered or it's actually a photograph. That's how much close graphics is today to bring as close to real world. But another interesting thing is gaming is not a pretty small industry. Gaming is one of the biggest industry. And in the next 5 years, it's expected to grow to 256 or 257 billion market. So it's a pretty massive market. And the gaming industry is driving or pushing the limits of many technologies, whether it is computer or whether it is keyboard, mouse, monitor, anything. The benchmark is based on gaming as one of the key entity. And by the market size, you can tell this is a pretty massive market. And so anything you do in this field, and that's the market that you're actually going to impact. So what about kind of middle school onwards, what they can do? So if they got started with Scratch, they are proficient in Scratch, they're proficient in JavaScript, the next thing they can go after is Java. So processing is another software that uses Java, and you can create amazing graphics in processing. And so this is basically like another step from JavaScript to just going to real Java code and then able to render something in real time. And so processing certainly is a way to get started there. The other two major ones is called Unity 3D and Unreal Game Engine. So these are the ones that many game developers use today, or even game companies use today to develop their games. So most of the Android games that you see, most of them are the 3D games or fast action games are developed in one of these two platforms mostly. And so there's also grants that these companies provide. So Unreal Engine recently announced that they have $100 million grant that anyone can actually request from students to companies to individuals. If they have a creative idea and they want to, they need some funds to just buy a computer or to kind of form a team and create a game or create some experience. They can apply through this Epic Mega Grants. And one of an Indian company got selected 2 years ago, and their game is now published on many platforms. If you search for a game called Raji, R-A-J-I, it's one of the winner of this Mega Grant from a company in India. And so this is a great way to kind of show your passion in graphics, or if you have an idea and you need some funds, this is another way to get started. And they don't have any age limit specified. So if you're high school or having an idea, this is another way to get some funds to get started. And what about books? For computer graphics, there are some books that everybody should have. I've listed these 3 books. At least you should have one of these to get started. The Computer Graphics Principles and Practice. From middle school plus or high school, this is a great book to get started. It's kind of like the Bible of graphics. And the Mathematics for 3D Game Programming, that's also a great book. Like I mentioned, in 1998, I worked with Eric Lingle in the Quest for Glory game, and one of the genius math mind behind the game engine. So, and his book is certainly a benchmark for understanding math in a fun way, actually. So, using computer graphics, you can learn a lot of the complex math in a much funful way. And how things are progressing. So gaming industry so far been looked at something that you play in your local PC or local console, but now Google and Microsoft is taking it to the cloud. So you can play a game on any device. Doesn't really need to have a powerful PC or a powerful hardware to play the game. And it's a subscription model just like Netflix. So you pay a monthly subscription and you can play games that are available on those platforms. So this is also started recently, and it is kind of booming. So this is another reason why the gaming industry is going to explode in the next 5 years. Just like the game, we looked at sensors. So the way computer sees us is also changing rapidly. Before it was just a flat 2D camera just capturing color images, but now cameras are capturing a lot more than just color images. Like LiDAR is one example that we saw. And you can now capture depth. You can capture an entire area using camera called the spherical cameras, or you can capture volumetric videos like these cameras shown here. And many movies are now getting created using these cameras to be hosted on VR platforms. And also there is a volumetric video that Intel has put together in LA, and there's a lot of articles about this, where movie industries and can come and take a screenshot they're seeing inside this big dome, and they can control the camera angle wherever they want. So for folks who have seen some of the Tamil movies like Boys, you might have remember there's a movie, the song scene where they kind of did something similar. So I'm very close to the end of the presentation. So, so compute is kind of growing in many ways. When I was a kid, I mean, the CPU is the only way we can program. Now there is this general graphics processing unit, there is FPGA and ASICs, but how the market is looking for the next 5 years, because if you're a middle school and high school, we're trying to get into this market, you need to understand where the market is growing and then plan accordingly. One of such market is certainly the way AI is taking the hardware side. ASICs are going to grow really, really rapidly in the next 5 years. And so you can see from this chart that the market from the hardware point of view is also growing exponentially in this case. We are in 2020, and you can say we are like less than 20 billion, way less than 20 billion, but in the next 5 years, these things are going to grow really rapidly as well. So for folks who are really interested in the hardware side, they want to kind of go their career in going to college or kind of getting into a job. This is kind of interesting to look at. So how AI is now used in graphics. This is another fun videos. I have a couple of videos, and I think that's pretty much my talk. We'll open up for question. This is a way now computers can generate. So let me pause the video, and you can watch it where I can explain. So you don't really need to kind of create complex scenes like this. You can just tell the computer what you're trying to do, and the computer can generate what you are looking for. So in this case, you just kind of put a green and then it'll just generate the green grass. If you want some mountains, you can just generate a mountain. This is in a very early stage. It's not completely ready for use, but you can see that how computers are able to kind of think and generate what you're looking for pretty quickly, right? So AI in content creation, this is an area where it's a mix of creativity, AI, and there's a lot of interesting use case for it in content creation side. So the future movies don't really need to have a pretty expensive backdrop. They can just create whatever they want using these technologies. The other one is AI is also able to learn how to adapt and take a technology, take one style and then apply to another image. So this is an interesting way to see that AI is able to kind of transfer some of the style from one image to the other image. This is also an interesting domain. And it's all in the research stage, but in the next 5 years, these things will be available in pretty much every products. So the manipulation of content is going to be much more easier with these tools. So people in the content creation side, like video editing or photo editing, these softwares are going to revolutionize those. Mundane tasks can be replaced by AI now. This one is very interesting. Again, this is like taking, learning from real world movements, character movements, and then applying it to a 3D model. So this is showing how AI was able to adapt how a character, an animal moves, and then putting that into a 3D character. So this company called Ziva is making lots of waves in this technology. And you can tell that, that these things are all close to kind of realistic animal rather than a computer generated model. So, I mean, there's lots of technologies and I think the stage is open for the next generation to figure out how to use these technologies. And it's already being used in many ways, from cars, autonomous cars. Tesla is using pretty much all these technologies from medicine industry. And you can tell, like, from this COVID situation, big data, AI, everything is in use. So if you go to Kaggle website, you'll see a lot of challenges now hosted on COVID-19 to figure out how to solve that problem. And one way I see is when I was growing up in the last 2 decades of my childhood, like from my childhood to kind of career, most of the time we were like, we tell the computer what to do and then the computer does it. But I think from 2020 onwards, the trend is kind of completely shifting from computers are now telling us what to do in many cases. If you have a smartwatch, I'm sure it's going to tell you what to do and when to run. Many people are using the pedometer, so they already get alerts from the computer like, hey, you need to walk now. And so the trend is now changing and it's helping us to lead a better life, healthier lifestyle for sure, much more green living, and also increase our productivity. So if you look at the AR glass that I showed, it's going to help increase the productivity, including NASA is using it to inspect the spacecrafts and to figure out if there are any issues before they actually launch one of them. And so it's helping in many ways, and it's also helping to remove some of the mundane tasks that we do every day. So AI is also helping in some ways. But one thing that is not changing is our creativity. So our creativity is unique. It's something that I don't think computer can take away pretty easily. It can learn from it, but from our creativity, we can certainly, I don't think that field is going to change any much in the future. So this is my last slide. So computer graphics along with AI is certainly shaping up how we interact with computers in the future, right? So, and one takeaway is for kids, they have to know programming to some extent, and starting with simple like Scratch and then kind of growing their level
to JavaScript, to Java, to C, C++ would be really ideal. And folks who are in middle school or high school or even college, I mean, technology is changing really rapidly. So keep updated. There are lots of ways to get updated. Facebook groups are there. There are YouTube channels like the ones I've listed there. Takes some of the advanced research and then help to digest in a meaningful way. And immersive experience is certainly coming up. And so far it's kind of somewhat there from this AR glass and all, but in the next 5 years, these things are going to change the way we live and certainly help us to lead a better life. So with that, I complete my talk. So are you ready to change the world?
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Selva. There are a few questions if you're ready to take up the questions.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so the first question was about the usage of AR and VR technology.
Mm-hmm.
The question was, how exactly would you say this technology impacting our eyes and how we see the world without this technology?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think VR, certainly there's lots of research going on, and they say to limit the usage to 20 minutes. And there's also an age limit on what age can use the technology. In general, anything that we put on our eye, even whether we like it or not, eye is one of the premium part in our body. I think so. Any technology, there's so many technologies in the past, like 3D TV came in where you have to wear a glass, but it didn't really strike out. But yeah, there is an impact in how much time you can use this technology. But eventually that will also change. I think the way we are using the current display technology in the VR glass is the problem. But eventually they will find a way to have a glass that is eye friendly for sure. For AR glass, I think it's much lesser because you still see the real world. You're only augmenting a portion of the physical world. Whereas in the VR, it's the complete opposite. Everything you see is displayed through the glass, through the LCD screen in front of you. So, so age is certainly a factor for VR. For AR, it's still early to tell, but I've used this Google Glass in the past, and it's pretty easy to use, and it only shows information when you need it. So, but it's a great question. The kids, there is current limit is 20 minutes per use is the limit. But that goes for any technology. I mean, kids are not allowed to use cell phones or tablets, but now as everybody knows, everybody uses them, right? So it is certainly an impact for the eye.
Thanks, Alva. Going to the next question. This one came from Gidu. Specifically, he appreciated the presentation. Thank you, Gidu, for the recognition. The question was, how are we able to determine what a bee sees or a dog sees using the technologies possibly?
Well, can you repeat the question?
How are we able to determine what a bee sees or a dog sees? You know, what would these animals see?
I think
two different animals.
So the way our eye, it depends on the eye itself. Like, I mean, bees have so many eyes, right? So the way they see is certainly different, and the wavelength they see is a lot different. How they predicted that, I don't know. I mean, I can definitely research that and get back to you, Gidu. But
I'm just curious because, I mean, it almost seems like there is an eye behind the eye, if you know what I mean. You know, because eye is just a physical thing, but there is something that is seeing through the eye. And how in the world did people were able to determine dogs cannot see colors or bees can see these things compared to humans?
There's a lot of research there. Even the dogs, what I came to know was dogs have a much higher refresh rate than our eye. So, for example, movies, we see 24 frames per second in movies. And we won't see any stutter in between frame to frame. Whereas for dogs, what I came to know was dogs have a much higher refresh rate. So when they see our TV, they get headache, it seems, because the refresh rate of 60 hertz or 60 frames per second is too slow for a dog's eye. And they figured this out actually as well. So, but how they figured it out is it's an interesting question, but they figured out that our eye acts in a much different way than all the other animals. And we have a plus and minus, but the bee is an interesting one because we don't know how bee sees our world. When they see a flower, I don't know how ultraviolet light reflects in the flower. And there's some YouTube videos where it showed what we think we would see, but we don't know exactly how they see. But it's interesting to see that our visual world is completely seen in a different way by different animals. But great question, Guido. I'll get back to you if I find an answer for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Looks like a potential research topic. Thank you, Selva. Thank you, Guru. The next question is how to get into AI creation or animation world? Where to start as a fourth grader?
Oh, as a fourth grader. I want to meet this kid. But I think the best way to kind of understand graphics or AI, certainly Unity. Let me pull up a link. It's a great question. Maybe this will lead to some of the things. I actually had it opened up so I can pull up and show. All right, so this is where that fourth grader kid should go. So Unity, as I mentioned, it's a great way to create a game. So there is a tutorial on creating this karting micro game. So it helps to, and it's just pretty straightforward. I think I have it running too. Let me see if I can show that. So I have one other game where here you just this is Unity, and I have one of the game, it's a shooting game. And similarly, there is this kart game. And one of the tutorial at the end is a way that now they allow this kart game to use machine learning to drive by itself. So it is basically like your Tesla self-drive. And you can actually do this all in Unity in a step-by-step. So making a game with AI. And they teach you every single step to kind of make your character in the car to completely autonomous. So this is one way to learn AI and also to see if your AI is doing the right thing, because if your car crashes, you know that it's not working. But there's lots and lots of articles about this in Unity. And I can certainly send the links, work with the GPTM committee to see how to take some of these links and make it into something that we can share with the community. So, but this I would say is a great starting point. And then even Scratch has also AI. So so AI is certainly used in many ways, but for Unity game, it's kind of bread and butter of Unity. So anything can be done with AI in Unity now.
Thank you, Selva. Definitely, we'll gather all these links and then send it to you folks later. The next question is, how much does a VR AR glass cost?
The cost is going down. I think you can get one like $399, I believe. The AR glass is very expensive at this point. They're still in the research. They cost like 3,000 plus right now. It's only more for the developer point of view. But VR prices are dropping. I think the last I've seen is $199 from Oculus. And it's a great platform to learn. And more than just using VR, there's lots of YouTube now host VR. I don't know if people are aware of it, but if you go to YouTube and search for VR 4K, you'll see several links that you can actually watch these things with your VR glass in a full 360 environment. And there's also 8K that you can actually, YouTube announced 8K streaming as well. there are a few videos that you can immerse into using this VR headset. So hopefully once this ad goes through, I can show that video. So these things will be amazing to watch in a VR. So when I'm moving the camera here to show the 360 view, but if you have a VR headset or if you're planning to buy one, you'll be amazed to see all this other content people have captured and shared it on YouTube. So this is like a great kind of sky view of this falls, Angel Falls. There's so many of them. The one that that for me that personally I liked was this Blue Angels video. So this one. So if you have a VR headset, you should certainly watch this one. It will definitely increase your adrenaline because it shows how a pilot will feel inside a Blue Angel flight.
I've seen that.
So, so there's a lot of great ways to explore VR. So, yeah, I think the answer for the question is like 199 is the lowest I've seen.
Okay, hope that answered the question. Thank you, Selva. Thanks for Magadi for submitting the question. The next question is, how are we going to minimize this AR technology further? And which company do you think it's going to do?
So many companies, Microsoft certainly has close enough to a product. They are very close, I would say. But I'm sure every company is trying, like Apple is trying. Every company is trying different ways to bring this AR glass technology. But so far, Microsoft is certainly in the leading edge of that technology. And it's also, they use that technology to kind of flourish all their other technology because they use Azure backend for their AR glass. So that's one way they're offloading compute to the cloud for these AR technologies. So if other companies are trying to come up, they will have some problems because the two companies that are leading in the cloud is certainly Amazon and Azure. And so they have a pretty good say than other companies. But yeah, for now, it's Microsoft is the leading one.
Thank you, Salva. Next question is, when and how do you think we can add another dimension to our technology, like feeling the taste or even touch?
It's a great question. So I'm sure there's a lot of research going on in this. MIT is doing some research in that space, but nothing that will productize soon. But they are certainly trying to figure this out. So one is the feel. Facebook has done some work in the past where they use ultrasonic sound sensors to can make people feel a touch, and they use that technology for the VR experience. Because when you see a button in thin air and you have to press it, you need to have a feel for that button. So, so there are some early technologies that they are evaluating, but for smell and taste, it's a whole new story. And if people can crack through that, now we can watch YouTube videos and you can also smell the food that we see on YouTube. So,
thank you, Salva. Thank you, Anirudh, for submitting these questions. Hope I know your questions have been answered. The next question is, are there any graphic design courses or camps that I could take up to help me in graphic design?
There's certainly a lot online now too. So if you go to Coursera, there's certainly lots of courses. In some cases, I mean, even several YouTubers now can put courses, design courses, and they get paid through Patreon or so. There's lots of them. I can probably curate a list and send it out as well. But many of this, the good thing about this graphics is more than learning, it's practice. Just like music or art, any other art field, there's only to a certain level you can learn. After that, it's all about practice. How much you practice makes you perfect in this field. So the tools that I've shown, like Blender, and there's lots of tutorials to explain how to create something in Blender. It all comes down to coming up with some idea and then making that happen, and to practice is the only way, I think, to learn this field. But I will definitely take an action item to get back with a list of things from a course point of view. What are the things that they can do to get certified? But beyond that, it's still practice is really key for this field to be one among a million, right? So.
Thank you, Selva. I'm hoping that all these links that you're going to share will be jammed maybe from our GPTM patrons, I guess. Thank you. The next thing was a kind of a suggestion, I guess, from Gidu. Maybe next time you can bring it down to the older adult levels.
Yep.
Who started our lifetime, with mainframes. So definitely, Gidu, we'll put that into our backlog and then we'll work on it.
Kids are way smarter than us. That's why I'm saying that.
Very true. Yeah.
So I do have some earlier webinars, Gidu, that I can share that I gave to some colleges in India, specifically for college grads and staffs. And that goes into a little bit on each of the technologies. But yeah, certainly.
I totally appreciate what you did today, and GPTM also. It's phenomenal. Fantastic idea. I've learned something, something I never thought it is even possible in this field. But it's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Gidu. Thank you, Selva. One last comment. I think it's from many folks who joined the webinar. They really appreciated the presentation. One of the kids was even saying, I don't know what grade that kid is in, Pranaya. She said, I was able to understand many things from this webinar. So that's great. Good to know.
That made my day. Thanks, Pranaya.
Yeah. That's all the questions that we had. Folks, if you guys if you have any other questions, either please speak up or put it in the chat window. Thank you.
Great presentation, Selva. Thank you so much. This is really awesome.
Thank you. And certainly, I think this is a very. I mean, when I entered this field, like back in '90s in Chennai, I mean, there's literally nothing there when I tried to find how to learn this field. And in '92, I still remember, like, I used to go to pretty much all bookstores to look for computer graphics book. And pretty much like everybody said, like, there's none. I mean, then I had to go to British Council Library, become a member. Then I was able to access those books. So I think that was one of the moments where I realized that I think for the current generation kids, there's a lot of information in our mind that are just floating around. But somehow we need to transfer that knowledge to the next generation so they don't have to struggle through this. And so the general theme of this talk, as I mentioned, is to kind of condense the 30 years of struggle or experience that would lead somebody else to kind of get into this path really quickly and make an impact. And also the hope to make sure that the next generation kids are not just looking for a job, but be the entrepreneur to create their own companies or create their own vision. Because I think that wave is also coming. And so to get that level of assurance, I think we need to do our outside of the transfers to them so they get comfortable to think in that angle, right? So that's my vision. I'll see how we can get there.
Great vision, Selva. Wishing you all success.
Thank you, Meena.
Selva, on behalf of everyone, ஒரு question இருக்கு கேட்கவா? சப்போஸ் இப்போ கிட்ஸ்லாம் கத்துக்கலாம் அப்படின்னு இருக்கான் வச்சுக்கோங்களேன். நம்ம இவ்வளவு நேரம் நீங்க கான்டென்ட்லாம் காட்டுனீங்க, லைக் வேர் டு ஸ்டார்ட் அண்ட் ஹவு டு ஸ்டார்ட் அப்படின்னு. சப்போஸ் இஃப் தே நீட் கைடன்ஸ், they can reach you.
Certainly, Meena. I think what I'll do is I'll certainly give my email address. I mean, one thing we can do, I mean, certainly I don't want this presentation to just be a passive presentation. Let's kind of take a step further and see what can we do going forward. So maybe if kids are interested, they can form a small group and then think about a way to create a game or whatever they want to do as a group. And I can certainly kind of guide them, whether it is middle school or even K to 5. And this is a pretty massive field by itself. So not everyone have to learn everything, but they can do a portion of things here and there to kind of come together and make something wonderful. Yeah, certainly looking forward to guiding people if they're interested in this field.
Great, Selva. Thank you. I'll keep you posted. I will check with everyone, GPTM community and kids. If they're interested, I'll let you know.
Certainly.
Yeah, we work on it. Thank you. Do we have any other questions in this group?
No other questions, Meena, but there are a lot of appreciations coming to Selva on the chat window.
Yeah, of course, that's very obvious. Yeah. So can we?
How many people are there? But yeah, it'd be great to see their comments.
Of course, yeah. So
one last question. Sorry, just a question popped up from Morgan. Tips to reduce kids' media time.
Oh my God, so many.
Mohan, unga face kaatanga konjam.
So many comments.
Yeah, I could see Seon's face behind.
Mohan, the question is, the question should have been opposite, right? Because anyway, with this, people are going to be more adapting to the technology and then start watching more.
Yeah. Just on a lighter side, I think we have to set an example as an adult, right?
Yeah, I think
very true.
Yeah, if they try to create something, I think that could also help. Instead of watching something as a video, if they're creating something, that I don't know if that could help. Certainly, I think for Sion, who's standing here, I mean, he's learning Scratch, and somehow when I see him now, like sometimes he thinks about creating a game and all, so it's interesting. So, but yeah, it comes from people what they want to do with their time, even kids, right? So we can try to reduce their media time, but I think like Gokul said, maybe we also need to be an example of that. What about you, Sion? Do you have an answer for this question?
First
How
of all,
how do we control media time for kids?
I never want to say that.
Yeah, as long as I mean they understand that there is that they can they have a limit. It's very hard, but once they find a way to spend their time on something passion, like whether it's drawing or music, I think that time will reduce. Is my hope. But if particular situation, we are in front of Zoom all the time, so it's really hard to be an example for the kid. So, நீங்க 9 to 5 வரைக்கும் Zoom முன்னாடி தான் உட்கார்ந்துட்டு இருக்கீங்கன்னு கேட்பாங்க.
Maybe with the VR glass, we don't have to carry the laptop at least. Just a glass is good enough.
Thank you, Selva.
Can you take the background? Can you change the background so that I can see it?
Okay. இப்போ questions-லாம் முடிஞ்சிடுச்சு அப்படின்னா நம்ம can we move on to thank you session?
Yeah, go ahead, Meena.
Hello, Selva.
There is one more question.
Uh-huh.
There's a question just came in. What's your take on blue light glasses and incorporating it with VR?
Blue light glasses. So to limit the blue light, yeah, I think that is also possible. I mean, the main thing is it kind of impacts the realism of what we see. So I don't know whether it will certainly help for the eye, but what you visualize and see without the blue light or the reduced blue light, I don't know whether it'll be immersive enough. So that's my concern. So, but good question. I'm sure the companies are trying this because they want kids to use it beyond the 20-minute. So my take is that they're probably looking at OLED technology, so the organic LED technologies to create light. Because the main problem is the way these display works today. They use this LED backlight. So that that is also eventually changing. So there might be a technology coming soon with which hopefully is not bad for our eyes. But the bigger problem is anything that we put in front of our eye, whether it is a display or a cell phone or a tablet, the one thing that most doctors recommend is to at least see something 30 feet away every half an hour. So there is a way to do that. I think that will save our eye for sure. But with this VR, AR glasses, maybe they should have a way to kind of compensate this eye to reduce the strain in the eye than keeping it in this in a stressful state for a prolonged period of time. So, but good question. I think Daya. Thanks, Daya.
Daddy, I have a question.
Okay, what is the question?
I have a question.
Okay.
So there is another coding app that we use at school.
What is that?
Minecraft.
Minecraft. Yeah, I didn't bring Minecraft, so yeah, that is Minecraft is also something they can use. Springville School uses that. That's how Sion got into some of the coding side. Maybe I'll turn off the display. Sion. But yeah, I think that is also another scripting app people can use. Springville definitely offers that.
What was the name of the script, tool, Selva?
Minecraft, what is that? Education, right?
Education edition.
So Springville, I think, yeah, they gave an account for Sion in the 4th grade called Minecraft Education Edition. And there they can do some of this scratch programming within Minecraft. So they can move a character and they can instruct a character to walk front certain steps and then take right and so on. So, but it's only for the 4th grader. I don't think they gave that for the 5th grader.
It's for 4th grade and above.
4th grade and above.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Selva.
The tool that I was talking about is Desmos.
Desmos.
That is something we should certainly talk to school and see whether they can bring that into our school program too. So this one gives a really interesting way to visualize complex math. So
can I show an example?
Yeah, let's do let's do the circle formula, which is the interesting one that when I saw this, I was like, why didn't we have something like this when we were growing up?
Can I show them another question?
Yeah.
Why? Mm-hmm. So you can do an X position and a Y position. So basically, if I could say X line, so
X equal to MX
4, 8. So it'll go like 4 and then how many steps? 0.8.
Yeah.
And then Y. See, then it'll calculate where that destination is or all that.
Yeah. this is another interesting tool that I came to know and I started using it. But I think it will be great for kids to learn this tool. And this website has all the links to learn this as well. So, and many schools are using this tool to teach. The teachers can sign up. I'm not sure if Springville is doing that or any other middle school here is doing that, but certainly looks very interesting to learn math in a creative way.
That's great, Selva. Very interesting tool. I think we can tell the kids to start using it. They can see visually how the math work.
Yep.
Cool.
And similar for graphics, I think Scratch is very basic. Here in Lakers, we go from 3rd standard onwards, it is in syllabus.
Yep. Yeah, Scratch is used in Springville too, right?
Yes. And also by me.
By you.
Awesome, Zayon. Thank you for sharing. Okay, any other questions? Okay, if there is no more questions, we can move on to final session. Hema?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So wonderful presentation. Thank you so much, actually. On behalf of GPTM and our sponsors and our viewers, I would like to thank you for taking time in your busy schedule to educate us on the emerging technologies. Actually, Pablo Picasso said, every child is an artist. The problem is staying an artist when you grow up. So today you have sown the seeds of a creativity in our kids and our viewers, so that the world could reap the benefits in the future. And we hope and wish to see many such creators contributing and towards the welfare of all. Thank you once again for your valuable time, and wish you all the best in your endeavors. Thank you so much, Selva.
Thank you, Hema. Thank you. Thanks a lot to the entire GPTM committee for giving this time and certainly help to connect with the local community. So hopefully this presentation helps, and we'll follow up. And as I said, we should have some action beyond the passive presentation. So I'll work with the committee and see how we can take those action steps going forward.
Yeah. Great, Selva. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much, everyone. Hope you all enjoyed this session.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Well, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.